The sound of glass shattering on the marble floor cut through the silence of the mansion like a scream. "You incompetent!" Livia's voice crossed the corridor with sharp contempt. "You're not even good enough to hold a tray properly." Joanna was on her knees on the floor, picking up the pieces of the crystal glass that had slipped from her fingers. His 53 years were heavy on his knees, but not as much as the shame that burned on his face. Around the dining table, 4 pairs of eyes watched her. Livia, the boss's wife, with her rehearsed expression of disgust. Melissa and Camilla, twin daughters in their early 20s, who exchanged snickers, and Helena, the family's favorite niece, who didn't even hide her boredom. "Mom, relax. Joanna has always been a bit clumsy," said Melissa, swirling the red wine in her glass, as if analyzing the failure of a defective object. "Clumsy?" Livia crossed her arms, her diamond rings shining under the light of the chandelier. "She's getting old. Maybe it's time we thought of someone more suitable." Joanna swallowed hard. It wasn't the first time I'd heard that, not even the 10th, but each time it hurt like it was the first time. She picked up the last shards, feeling the thin cut on her index finger, a red line that she quickly hid in her white apron. "Excuse me," he murmured, getting up with difficulty. Nobody responded. They had already returned to the conversation about next week's charity party, about imported dresses, about which jewelry store had the best pieces for the occasion. Joanna left the dining room with the tray shaking in her hands. In the hallway, he leaned against the wall and closed his eyes for a moment. 17 years. 17 years working in that house. 17 years cleaning, cooking, serving, smiling when necessary, being silent when expected. And yet, to these women, she was invisible. Worse, it was disposable. But Joanna couldn't afford to feel sorry for herself. I had bills to pay. There was Luana, her 8-year-old granddaughter, who had lived with her since her daughter died in a car accident 2 years ago. There were medicines to buy, school uniforms to change, rent arrears to negotiate. It had life, and life didn't wait for anyone to get it together. She went to the kitchen, washed the pieces, disinfected the cut on her finger, and went back to work. And the Silvera mansion was in the city's most upscale neighborhood, a name that everyone knew, Eugenio Silvera, the billionaire who had built an empire in the real estate sector. At 65, he was a man of few words and many observations. Impeccably coiffed gray hair, tailored suits, a presence that commanded respect without needing to shout. Joanna saw little of him. He spent most of his time locked in his office or traveling, but when they passed each other in the hallway, he always waved. A simple gesture, a "Good morning, Joanna," that sounded sincere. It was more than anyone else in that house gave him. Eugenio had never said much, but he observed everything. He knew. I knew how Livia treated the employees. He knew how his daughters wasted money on frivolities while complaining of boredom. He knew how Helena, the niece he had taken in after her brother's death, feigned gratitude while conspiring behind the scenes to secure her share of the inheritance. And he knew that Joanna was different. Therefore, that Thursday morning, Eugenio went down to the cafe with a decision made. It was 8 o'clock when he entered the dining room, where Livia, Melissa, Camilla, and Helena were already sitting, leafing through fashion magazines and complaining about the heat. "Good morning," said Eugenio, pulling out the chair at the head of the table. "Good morning, love," replied Livia, without looking up from the magazine. "Joanna, bring my husband's coffee." Joanna emerged from the kitchen with the silver tray, placing the porcelain cup in front of Eugenio. He nodded her thanks, and waited for her to return to the kitchen before speaking. "I have an announcement to make." The 4 women looked up at the same time, curious. Eugenio took 4 small black envelopes from the inside pocket of his jacket, each with a name handwritten in gold letters: Livia, Melissa, Camilla, Helena. And then, from his other pocket, he took out a 5th envelope. No name, just a golden seal. "What is that?" Livia asked, frowning. "A test," replied Eugenio calmly. "Inside each envelope there is an unlimited credit card, a black card." The 4 women's eyes instantly lit up. "No limit?" Melissa repeated, leaning forward. "No limit," confirmed Eugenio. "Each of you will receive one. And Joanna too." The silence that followed was dense, almost solid. "Joanna?" Livia said the name as if it were a bad joke. "The maid?" "Yes." Eugene didn't look away. "Joanna will receive a Ciarto black just like you." "Daddy, are you serious?" Camilla dropped the magazine on the table in disbelief. "Completely." He distributed the 4 envelopes with names, 1 for each. "You have until Sunday night. They can buy whatever they want, wherever they want. No restrictions. On Sunday, I want everyone to show me what they bought and explain to me why." Helena took the envelope with a smile that tried to disguise her greed. "And what is the test criteria?" Eugenio stood up, adjusting his jacket. "You'll find out on Sunday." And he left the room, taking the 5th envelope with him. Joanna was washing the dishes when Eugenio entered the kitchen. She turned around, startled, drying her hands on her apron. "Mr. Eugenio, do you need something?" He held out the golden envelope. "This is for you." Joanna looked at the envelope as if it were a trap. "I don't understand." "Open it." With trembling hands, Joanna tore the seal. Inside was a heavy black card with her name engraved in silver letters. Joanna Ferreira dos Santos. What is this?" "A credit card with no limit," explained Eugenio. "You have until Sunday night to use it. Buy whatever you want, whatever you need, what to dream." Joanna felt her legs weaken. "Sir, I can't accept this. It must be a mistake." "It's not a mistake." His voice was firm, but gentle. "On Sunday night I want you to show me what you bought, and tell me why. This is the only request." He placed his hand on her shoulder, a brief, almost fatherly gesture. "Joanna, you deserve it." And he left the kitchen, leaving her alone with the card in her hands and her heart racing. The news spread through the mansion like wildfire. "Did he give the maid a black card?" Melissa screamed in the room, throwing a pillow at the wall. "He's gone crazy." "That's ridiculous," Livia growled, pacing from one side of the closet to the other. "Eugene is senile." "It just might be." Camilla rolled her eyes. "Guys, relax. She's probably going to buy a new fridge or something. It won't make any difference." Helena, leaning against the doorframe, smiled sideways. "Or he's testing us, to see who will complain." Livia stopped walking and faced her niece. "What do you mean?" "It means that, if we're smart, we'll use this money to impress, to show that we are different from her." Helena crossed her arms. "Let's show that we have class." Melissa and Camilla exchanged a complicit look. "I like that idea," Melissa said, picking up her bag. "Let's go shopping. Now." Joanna spent the rest of Thursday in shock. She put the card in her apron pocket, checking every 5 minutes to see if it was still there. He didn't tell anyone, not even for Luana, who arrived home from school at 3 in the afternoon and found her quieter than usual. "Grandma, are you okay?" asked the girl, pulling out her chair to do her homework at the kitchen table. "Yes, my love." Joanna forced a smile, smoothing her granddaughter's curly hair. "Just a tired day." But at night, when Luana slept, Joanna took the card out of her pocket and looked at it in the dim light of the lamp. She had never held anything like this. He never imagined he would hold it. "Buy whatever you want, whatever you need, whatever you dream about." Eugenio's words echoed in his mind. She thought about Luana. No late rent, in medicine, in uniform, in the shoe that was already tight, on the bicycle that the girl had asked for her birthday and that Joanna had not been able to buy. She thought of herself, in the knees that hurt, on the back that complained, in retirement that would never come. And then, for a brief, frightening moment, he allowed himself to dream. What would I buy if I could buy anything? But before she could respond to herself, a message lit up her cell phone screen. It was from an unknown number. "Be careful what you buy, Joanna. Everyone is watching." She felt her blood run cold. Someone was watching, and the test had just begun. Joanna receives an anonymous, threatening message. Someone is monitoring your choices. But who and why? Joanna didn't sleep that night. The message was still there, flashing on the cell phone screen like a red alert. She reread it dozens of times, looking for some clue, a typo, a pattern, anything that would reveal who was behind the words. But there was only coldness, deliberate, calculated. "Be careful what you buy, Joanna. Everyone is watching." She deleted the message at 4 in the morning, but the weight of it remained. Who knew about the card? Just Eugene, and the 4 women of the house. Nobody else. Unless someone was listening, observing, waiting. Friday began with the sound of high heels descending the marble stairs. Joanna was in the kitchen preparing the cafe when Melissa and Camilla appeared, already dressed up, with makeup on, with designer bags hanging from their arms. "Joanna, there won't be lunch here today," Melissa announced without looking at her. "Let's go to the mall. Whole day. And I want you to wash my car before we leave," Camilla added, throwing the keys on the counter. "It's rubbish." "Yes, miss." Joanna lowered her head, picking up the keys. The two left laughing, talking about stores, jewelry, exclusive clothes. Livia appeared next with Helena right behind. They were also leaving. "Let's go shopping," said Livia, adjusting her sunglasses on her face. "Eugenio gave us this opportunity, and we are going to make the most of it." Helena smiled, casting a quick glance at Joanna. "You also got a card, right, Joanna?" The question came wrapped in false sympathy, but Joanna knew that tone. It was the same one Helena used when she wanted to investigate, provoke, destabilize. "Yes, I won," replied Joanna, keeping her voice firm. "And what are you going to buy?" Helena tilted her head, curious. "A new TV? Clothes for the granddaughter?" Joanna felt the weight of Livia's gaze on her. The boss was waiting for an answer. Everyone waited. "I haven't decided yet," said Joanna, looking away. Helena gave a thin smile. "Well, don't miss your chance. Opportunities like this don't come around twice, and they left, leaving a trail of expensive perfume in the air. Joanna was alone in the mansion. Silence was rare there, and she didn't know if it calmed her or worried her. He washed Camilla's car, folded the clothes that were on the line, mopped the dining room. Everything automatic, everything mechanical, but his mind wouldn't stop. Everyone is watching. She picked up her cell phone and checked the unknown number again. Nothing. No identification. No clues. And then, as he was putting the dry dishes away in the cupboard, he heard footsteps upstairs. Slow, heavy. Joanna froze. It wasn't possible. Everyone had left. She was sure. He had seen Livia and Helena get into the car. Melissa and Camilla, too. Eugenio was in a meeting in the office on the other side of the property, so who was on the second floor? With her heart racing, Joanna walked into the hallway. The footsteps stopped. She walked up the stairs slowly, holding the hem of her apron tightly. "Is there anyone there?" he called, his voice coming out weaker than he intended. Nothing. She reached the top of the stairs. The hallway was empty, all doors closed, except one, Helena's room. Joanna approached. The door was ajar, swinging slightly. She pushed gently. The room was ransacked. Drawers open, clothes scattered, papers on the bed, and on the nightstand, a black folder with the logo of a law firm. Joanna recognized the name engraved in gold, Andrade and Rocha Advogados. His heart skipped a beat. She shouldn't be there. You shouldn't touch anything. But something pulled her forward. She took the folder, opened it. Inside, there were documents, many, contracts, certificates, financial reports, and at the top of the pile, a sheet with the office letterhead and a handwritten note. Interdiction action in progress. Medical report attached. Deadline, 30 days. Joanna frowned. Interdiction? From who? Turned the page, and he read the name that made his blood run cold. Eugenio Rodriguez Silveira. She quickly closed the folder, replaced it on the nightstand exactly as it was, and left the room. His hands were shaking. Breathing was short. Interdiction. They were trying to interdict him. Declare Eugene incapable. Take away control of his fortune, the company, everything. And Helena was involved. Maybe Livia, too. Maybe everyone. Joanna walked down the stairs slowly, as if the floor could collapse at any moment. She needed to think. I needed to understand. But before he could collect his thoughts, the front door opened. Livia entered carrying bags. Lots of bags. "Joanna!" he called, throwing the purchases on the sofa. "Come get this and take it to my room." Joanna obeyed in silence, picking up the heavy bags. Inside you could see fine fabric, jewelry boxes, imported shoes, everything expensive, all unnecessary. As he went upstairs with the bags, he heard Livia on the phone downstairs. "Yes, I know. 30 days. We are already arranging everything. No, he doesn't suspect anything. Testing the card was actually convenient. It shows that he is losing his mind. Imagine giving a black card to the maid." Joanna stopped in the middle of the stairs. Livia's voice continued, lower now, but still audible. "When the ban is lifted, everything will go to my name, and Helena gets her share, as we agreed. Melissa, and Camilla too. Yes, he won't react in time. Sunday is just a distraction. The call has been terminated." Joanna felt the world spin. Everything made sense now. The test wasn't about character. It wasn't about choices. It was a trap, a pretext. A way to make Eugenio appear senile, irresponsible, incapable of managing his own fortune. And she, Joanna, was part of the plan, the piece that would prove his madness. Imagine giving a black card to the maid. Joanna left the bags in Livia's room and went down to the kitchen, trembling. She needed to warn Eugenio, but how? He was in the office, distant, busy. What if Livia suspected that Joanna knew something? She took out her cell phone. He hesitated. I couldn't call directly. I couldn't risk being overheard. It was then that he received the second message. Same unknown number. "You heard, didn't you? Now you know the truth. But be careful, Joanna. They can't find out that you know. Pretend. Buy something. Act normal. Sunday night, everything will be revealed. Trust." Joanna read and reread. Who was this person? How did you know everything? And why was he helping her? She had no answers. Just fear. My kid asked flashback. 10 years earlier, Joanna was in the kitchen of the simple house where she lived with her daughter, Clara, and her newborn granddaughter, Luana. It was Sunday morning, and Clara had just arrived from the night shift at the hospital where she worked as a nursing assistant. "Mom, you didn't need to do all that," said Clara, looking at the abundant table. Homemade bread, cake, fresh coffee, cut fruit. "Of course I needed to." Joanna smiled, placing Luana on her lap. "You work all night. You deserve a decent coffee." Clara sat down, took a piece of bread and sighed. "One day I'm going to take you out of that mansion, Mom. Interest. You don't deserve to be treated like that." "I can handle it, my daughter." Joanna kissed Luana's forehead. As long as you two are okay, I can handle anything. Clara held her mother's hand. I love you, Mom, more than anything. Joanna squeezed that hand tightly. I love you too, and I will always be here, always. It was a promise. She didn't know that morning that 2 years later Clara would die in a car accident on her way to work, that Luana would be an orphan at the age of 2, that Joanna would have to be a mother again, at 51, with a tired body and a broken heart. But she kept her promise, always. Back to the present, Friday night. Joanna put Luana to sleep and sat on the edge of the bed, looking at the girl's serene face. The same eyes as her daughter, the same smile, the same kindness. Grandma will do the right thing, my love, whispered Joanna, smoothing Luana's curly hair. I don't know exactly what it is yet, but I'll do it. She went back to the kitchen and took the black card that was hidden in her pocket. He ran his finger over the engraved name, Joanna Ferreira dos Santos. For the first time in 17 years, someone saw her, not as a maid, not as invisible, as a person, and Eugene was in danger. He didn't know that his own family was conspiring against him. I didn't know the test was a sham, a pretext, a scam, but Joanna knew, and now I needed to decide what to do with this information. According to on Saturday morning, Melissa and Camilla returned from the mall with dozens of bags. Designer clothes, bags, shoes, jewelry, perfumes, everything expensive, all unnecessary. They dumped their purchases in the living room like war trophies. Guys, I spent so much, Melissa said, laughing, but it was worth every penny. Me too. Camilla threw herself on the sofa. Dad asked us to buy whatever we wanted, so I bought it. Helena entered soon after, with smaller but equally sophisticated bags. I invested in classic pieces, she said with a superior smile. Things that last, not frivolities. Livia went downstairs, adjusting her pearl necklace. Very good, girls. Sunday night, we will show Eugenio that we know the value of things, that we have class. The four exchanged complicit glances. Joanna watched everything from the kitchen door, quiet, invisible as always. But this time, she saw what they didn't want anyone to see. Greed, the conspiracy, the betrayal. Saturday afternoon, Joanna left the mansion for the first time since Thursday. He took the bus to the center, holding the old bag to his chest. The black card was inside, heavy as a stone. She didn't know what to buy. I didn't know if I should buy it, but the anonymous message had said, pretend, buy something, act normal. He went into a children's clothing store. He looked at the dresses, the shoes, the coats, everything beautiful, everything Luana deserved. A saleswoman approached. Can I help? I'm just looking. The saleswoman gave a polite smile and walked away. Joanna chose a blue dress, simple, delicate. He imagined Luana wearing it. He imagined the girl's smile, and then he saw the price, 120 reais. She put the dress back. It wasn't about the money. It was about what it meant. Buy with Eugenio's card, enter the game, be a forehead from the, but tested why, for what? She left the store without buying anything, and that was when he saw, in the window of an electronics store across the street, something that made his heart stop. A television on, and on the screen, news. Billionaire businessman in interdiction process. Family alleges senile dementia, and the photo that appeared was that of Eugenio Silveira. Joanna ran across the street. He entered the store, eyes fixed on the TV. The reporter continued. According to sources close to the family, Eugenio Silveira, 65 years old, has exhibited erratic behavior in recent months, including questionable financial decisions. The interdiction action was filed by his wife, Livia Silveira, with the support of other family members. The businessman did not comment. The report changed the subject. Joanna stood there still, processing. They had already made it public. They were already destroying his reputation, and the card test would be used as evidence of erratic behavior. Give the maid a black card. She left the store, breathing hard. I needed to go back. I needed to do something. But what? It was then that his cell phone vibrated. Third message, same number. Go home. Go to Eugenio's office. In the third file cabinet on the left bottom drawer, there is a manila envelope with your name on it. Take it. Don't let anyone see it. Joanna looked around, as if someone was watching. Who was this person? How did you know everything? But there was no time for questions. She took the bus back. Saturday night. The mansion was quiet when Joanna arrived. Livia, Melissa, Camilla, and Helena had gone out for dinner. Eugenio was locked in the office. Joanna waited. Half an hour, 1 hour, until he heard the office door open and Eugenio's footsteps going up to the room. She waited another 15 minutes, and then, with his heart racing, he crossed the dark corridor to the office. The door was unlocked. Joanna entered, just turning on the small lamp on the table. The room smelled of wood and old paper, bookshelves full of books, trophies, old photos. She headed to the third file cabinet on the left. He opened the bottom drawer, and there it was, a manila envelope, heavy, with your name written in hand, Joanna Ferreira dos Santos. With shaking hands, she opened it. Inside, there were documents, many, copies of contracts, bank statements, suspicious transfers, printed emails, and a letter, typed, no signature. Joanna, if you're reading this, it's because you understand what's going on. My family wants to get me out of the picture. They want my money, my company, my name. They think I'm senile, weak, incapable, but I know everything, and you're the only person in this house I can trust. The card test isn't about consumption. It's about character. On Sunday night, I'm going to reveal the truth, but I need you to help me. Buy what your heart tells you, not what they wait. Show who you really are, and when the time comes, I will be by your side. Trust me, as I trust you. Joanna read the letter 3 times. The tears fell hot down his face. He knew. Eugene knew everything, and he was playing their game, waiting, observing, and she was the key, not the victim, not the disposable part, the key. Joanna discovers that Eugenio knows about the conspiracy and that the card test is, in fact, a trap for the real traitors. She now needs to decide what to buy and how to use her choice to help unmask the family. Sunday morning arrived heavy, as if the mansion's air had thickened overnight. Joanna woke up before sunrise. As always, she prepared the coffee, set the table, placed the fresh flowers in the vase in the dining room. Everything the same, everything normal. But inside, his heart was beating wildly. Today was the day when Eugenio would ask each one to show what they had bought, the day when everything would be revealed. She touched her apron pocket. The black card was still there, intact. She hadn't bought anything, nothing at all, and that terrified her. Luana appeared in the kitchen, yawning, her curly hair disheveled. Good morning, Grandma. Good morning, my love. Joanna kissed the girl's forehead and poured a glass of milk. Today you're going to stay at Aunt Marlene's house, okay? Why? Luana frowned. Because Grandma has an important appointment. At the boss's house? Yeah, at the boss's house. Luana drank the milk in silence, but her eyes watched her grandmother with that perception that only children have. She knew when something was wrong. Grandma, is everything okay? Joanna held her granddaughter's small hands. You will stay, my love. It will stay. At 9 in the morning, Livia, Melissa, Camilla, and Helena went down for breakfast. They were all impeccable, made up, perfumed, as if they were going for a party or to a war. Good morning, Joanna, said Livia, sitting at the head of the table. Bring the coffee and be quick, we have an important day ahead of us. Yes, ma'am. Joanna served the coffee in silence. He observed each one of them. Livia, with that air of superiority that she never abandoned. Melissa and Camilla, laughing about something on their cell phone, oblivious to the world. Helena, quiet, calculating, her eyes always attentive. So, Joanna, Helena broke the silence, stirring the sugar in her coffee. Have you already decided what you're going to show tonight? The 4 women looked up at the same time, like predators smelling weakness. Joanna held the tray tightly. I've already decided, yes. And what was it? Melissa leaned forward, curious. You can tell. We're all friends here, aren't we? The tone was sweet, but false. Joanna knew that game. I prefer to keep the surprise. Just like you. Livia gave a short, dry laugh. Surprise. How cute. She picked up the cup and sipped. Well, I hope you chose something appropriate, something that makes sense for your level. My level? Joanna repeated, controlling the tremor in her voice. Yes, your level. Livia looked at her coldly. After all, it wouldn't be appropriate for you to show up with something exaggerated, something that doesn't suit you. Camilla and Melissa chuckled. Helena just watched in silence, her eyes fixed on Joanna. I chose what I thought was right, said Joanna, keeping her voice firm. Excellent. Livia closed the matter. You can go. We have a lot to talk about before tonight's meeting. Joanna returned to the kitchen. He closed the door. He leaned against the sink and took a deep breath. They are testing you, wondering what you bought, wanting to control the narrative, but Joanna wasn't going to give in. Was a flashback. 3 years earlier, Joanna was in Clara's room, still intact, still smelling of the daughter she had lost. Luana, aged 5, was sitting on the floor, hugging an old doll. Grandma, will Mom come back? Joanna sat next to her granddaughter, holding back tears. No, my love, Mom won't come back. Why? Because God needed her in heaven. Luana was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked in a small voice, and Grandma is leaving too? Joanna pulled the girl onto her lap and hugged her tightly. No, I'm not going anywhere. I will be here, always. I promise. Luana squeezed her grandmother back. Do you really promise? I promise. It was the second time Joanna made this promise, and this time she couldn't break. Oski Miriam on to return to the present, Sunday noon. Joanna was folding clothes in the service room when she heard excited voices coming from the living room. She approached the door, listening. I don't believe he's really going to do that, Melissa said nervously. What if he gets suspicious? He won't suspect it, Livia replied firmly. Eugene is old, tired. He thinks he is testing our character, but in reality he is exposing himself. We're just accelerating the inevitable. And the maid? Asked Camilla. What if she bought something that, I don't know, impresses him? Livia let out a cruel laugh. The maid? Please. She probably bought a fan or a set of pans. Nothing that makes a difference. What matters is what we show. Elegance, sophistication, class, things he expects from us. And then, Helena spoke for the first time. After the test is over, then, the lawyer moves the last piece. The medical report is ready. The judge is known to us. In 2 weeks at most, Eugenio loses control of everything, and we will finally have what is rightfully ours. Silence. Joanna felt her blood boil, but he couldn't react. Not yet. She went back to the service room, picked up her cell phone and typed a quick message to the unknown number. They are confirming everything. Lawyer, judge, medical report. 2 weeks. What do I do? The answer came within seconds. Nothing. Continue as normal. Trust the plan. Tonight, everything changes. Joanna put away her cell phone. Trust. She needed to trust, but it was so difficult. The Sunday, 3 p.m. Eugenio left the office for the first time that day. He wore an impeccable gray suit, his face serene as always. He found Joanna in the hallway. Good afternoon, Joanna. Good afternoon, Mr. Eugene. He stopped, looking her straight in the eyes. Everything is fine? Joanna hesitated. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell everything. I wanted to warn him that he was being betrayed, deceived, robbed. But he remembered the letter. I know everything. Yes, sir. All good. Eugene nodded slowly. Excellent. He paused. Did you buy what you needed? Joanna took a deep breath. I did what you asked. I bought what my heart told me. Eugene smiled. A small but genuine smile. Then it's perfect. And he continued down the corridor, leaving Joanna with a heavy heart. Sunday, 6 p.m. The dining table was set. Porcelain plates, silver cutlery, crystal glasses. Livia had insisted on turning the meeting into a formal dinner. After all, it is a special occasion. Joanna served the starter in silence. Pumpkin soup, artisan bread, white wine, everything perfect, as always. The 4 women were radiant, each with a new dress, new jewelry, new smiles. They could barely contain their anxiety. Eugenio arrived at 6:30 p.m. on time. He sat at the head. Good night. Good night, love, said Livia, kissing him on the cheek. We look forward to your verdict. It's not a verdict. Eugenio unfolded the napkin on his lap. It's just a conversation. Melissa and Camilla exchanged looks. Eugenio gestured to Joanna. Joanna, sit down, please. Absolute silence. Sir? Joanna's eyes widened. Sit down. You are part of this too. Livia opened her mouth to protest, but Eugenio cut her off with a look. Joanna, trembling, pulled out a chair at the other end of the table and sat down. His hands were sweating. His heart pounded. Very good. Eugene picked up the glass of wine. Let's get started. Livia. Eugene looked at his wife. What did you buy? Livia smiled, confident. She gestured and 2 huge bags were brought by one of the temporary employees. I bought high jewelry pieces, she announced, taking out blue velvet boxes, an emerald necklace, diamond earrings, a white gold bracelet, everything from Tiffany. She displayed the jewelry under the light. They are classic pieces, eternal. They symbolize sophistication and good taste, things that a woman of my position should have. Eugene nodded, expressionless. Melissa, your time. Melissa stood up, excited. I bought clothes. She brought several bags. Designer dresses, Chanel, Dior, Versace, Louboutin shoes, exclusive bags, everything to always be elegant and well-dressed. After all, we represent the family, right, Dad? Camilla? Camilla showed off her purchases with similar enthusiasm. I invested in well-being, spa treatments, imported beauty products, an Apple Watch, a new iPhone. Oh, and a week at a resort in Cancun, because we need to take care of ourselves, right? Eugenio turned to Helena. Helena was more restrained. I chose to invest in culture, rare books, works of art, opera and theater tickets, things that add intellectual and social value. She smiled slightly. After all, money well spent is what elevates us. Eugenio remained silent for a long moment, observing the 4. Then, he turned to Joanna. Joanna, and you? Joanna felt all 4 women looking at her with barely concealed contempt. She swallowed hard. I haven't bought anything yet, sir. The 4 of them widened their eyes. What do you mean you didn't buy anything? Livia almost screamed. You had 3 days, a card with no limit, and you didn't buy anything? I didn't say I didn't buy it, Joanna corrected, her voice firm. I said I haven't bought it yet. Eugenio leaned forward, interested. Explain. Joanna took a deep breath. I spent the last 3 days thinking about what I really needed, just what my granddaughter needed, what would make a difference. And I realized that it wasn't about buying, it was about choosing. So I chose to use the card in another way. What shape? Asked Eugene. Joanna took a folded paper out of her pocket. He placed it on the table. I paid 6 months' rent in advance. I bought my granddaughter's medicine for the entire year. I paid for her to enroll in a better school. And the rest? She paused. The rest I donated. Dead silence. Donated? Melissa almost choked. For whom? To the daycare center in the neighborhood where I live. They needed cribs, diapers, formula. So I bought it. And I delivered it yesterday. Livia was livid. Are you telling me you wasted a black card on charity? Joanna faced her boss firmly for the first time. I didn't waste it. I invested. In lives. In futures. In dignity. Eugene didn't say anything, but his eyes sparkled. Helena, realizing that the situation was getting out of control, intervened. Dad, with all due respect, Joanna clearly didn't understand the proposal. This was not a test of charity. It was about personal character, individual choices. Individual choices? Joanna interrupted her, and for the first time her voice rose in tone. And spending 50,000 Rs on a bag is character? Is buying jewelry that will be locked in a safe character? Is paying for a resort while there are people starving outside this mansion in character? How dare you? Livia stood up, furious. He arrives! Eugenio's voice cut the air like a blade. Everyone froze. Eugenio stood up slowly, his eyes fixed on Livia. Sit down, now. Livia sat down, pale. Eugenio walked to the window with his back to everyone. I knew it, he said, his voice low, controlled. I knew that you were going to do exactly that. Spend without thinking, display without purpose, consume without conscience. He turned around, and I also knew that Joanna would be different. Melissa tried to speak. Daddy, you just what? Eugene took a step forward. Did they prove to be exactly what I suspected? Livia stood up again, but this time angry. Eugene, you are exaggerating. We just used the money like anyone else would, like any greedy person would do, he said. And then he took an envelope from the inside pocket of his jacket. Since we're talking about choices, maybe you'd like to explain this choice. He threw the envelope onto the table. Livia turned pale. Helena stiffened. What is this? Camilla stammered. Abram, ordered Eugenio. Nobody moved. It was Joanna who reached out, took the envelope and opened it. Inside were copies of the documents she had seen in Helena's room. Interdiction action, the false report, the emails between Livia and the lawyer, bank transfers, all. Joanna looked up, meeting Eugenio's gaze. He knew, all the time, and now he was exposing. Dad? Melissa tried to speak, but her voice broke. No, said Eugenio, raising his hand. Don't try to explain. Don't try to lie. I know everything. I know you want to admit me. They want to declare me incapable. Who want to steal everything I built? Who have already paid for a lawyer, judge, doctor? All. Livia stood, desperate. Eugene, it's not like that. Don't lie to me anymore. The scream echoed throughout the room. Silence. Eugenio took a deep breath, composing himself. I gave this test because I wanted one last confirmation, one last chance to be wrong, to see that there was still something good in you, but you proved exactly the opposite. He looked at Joanna. Except her. Livia pointed at Joanna with contempt. She's a maid. She's more family than any of you ever were, said Eugenio, and then he turned to the door. Joanna, come with me. We have a lot to talk about. Joanna stood up, trembling. But before he could take a step, Helena blocked the path. If you think you're going to leave here with anything, you're very mistaken, she hissed, her eyes injected with hatred. And Joanna saw at that moment the true danger. They weren't going to give up. They were going to attack. Helena blocks Joanna and makes it clear that she will not give up the inheritance. Tensions reach a peak and the confrontation is about to explode. But what will the antagonists do now that they have been exposed? Helena blocked Joanna's path with her body, her eyes cold as ice. You're not going anywhere with him, he hissed, low enough for only Joanna to hear. You are an opportunist, a freeloader who got involved where she wasn't called. Joanna took a step back, but kept her gaze steady. I didn't get involved in anything. I was invited. Guest? Helena gave an acid laugh. Do you really think you are part of this family? Who has any rights here? You are an employee, and it will continue to be. Enough, Helena. Eugenio's voice cut the air with authority. Get out of the way. Helena turned to her uncle, her face contorted in suppressed fury. Uncle, you are being manipulated, don't you see? She is taking advantage of your goodwill, your age, your... My what, Helena? Eugenio took a step forward. Of my senility? That's what's in the documents you prepared, isn't it? That I'm senile, unable, demented. Livia stood up, trying to regain control. Eugene, you are distorting everything. We just wanted to protect you. Protect? His voice echoed like thunder. You wanted to steal me. The silence that followed was dense, heavy, suffocating. Melissa started to cry, but they were fake tears. Tears of despair, not regret. Daddy, please. We didn't want it to be like this. Didn't you want to? Eugenio took another paper from his pocket, then explained these transfers. $2.5 million from my personal account to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. On behalf of the four of you. Camilla turned pale. How? How did you find out? I always knew. Eugene threw the paper on the table. Did you think I was stupid? Too old to realize? I control every penny that comes out of my accounts, every transaction, every move, and I allowed you to do this, to have proof. Livia sat down slowly, her face gray. Helena, however, did not give up. He turned to Joanna again. And you think he'll give you something? What will you put in your will? Wake up, Joanna. You are nothing more than a piece in his game. Joanna looked at Eugene, and he for the first time smiled. A sad but true smile. Joanna is not a play. She's the only person in this house who still has a soul. And then, he reached out to her. Let's go. We have matters to discuss. Joanna took his hand, and together they left the dining room under the astonished, angry, and desperate stares of the four women. In Eugenio's office, Joanna was finally able to breathe. She sat in the leather armchair, her legs shaking, her heart still racing. Eugenio poured a glass of water and handed it to her. Drink, slowly. Joanna obeyed, feeling the cold water soothe her dry throat. Mr. Eugenio, I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything. He sat behind the table, his face tired but relieved. You did exactly what I expected, what I knew you would do. Did you really know everything? From the beginning. Eugenio opened a drawer and took out a thick folder. 6 months ago, my accountant noticed irregularities, unauthorized transfers, forged signatures, strange movements. I could have gone to the police immediately, but I needed to be sure. I needed to see how far they would go. He leafed through the documents. The lawyer, the medical report, the judge, everything bought, all armed. They wanted to declare me incapable and take control of the company, the assets, everything, and they were 2 weeks away from achieving it. Joanna felt a chill. And the card test? It was my way of giving them one last chance. Eugene sighed. I wanted to see if, faced with total freedom, an unlimited card, they would choose something different, something that showed gratitude, love, character. But they chose exactly what I expected. Luxury, display, ego. He looked at Joanna with intensity. And you chose the opposite. You thought about others. On your granddaughter. In children you don't even know. You used the money to give, not to have. Joanna felt her eyes water. I only did what was right. Exactly. Eugene got up and walked to the window. And so, Joanna, I'm going to do something that I should have done a long time ago. He picked up another envelope. This one sealed with red wax. This is my new testament. Signed, recognized, and registered yesterday at a notary's office. In it, I leave 40% of my fortune to charities that I personally choose. Orphanages, daycare centers, public hospitals, schools. 30% goes into a trust fund for Luana, his granddaughter, providing education, healthcare, and housing until she turns 25. Joanna's eyes widened. Sir, I can't. Maybe yes. And you will accept it. He placed the envelope on the table. The other 30% goes to you, directly. No conditions. No strings attached. Joanna felt her legs weaken. 30% of $1 billion fortune. She couldn't even process the number. But what about them? His wife, his daughters, they got what they deserved. Nothing. His voice was firm, without hesitation. They chose betrayal. They chose robbery. Now they will face the consequences. Joanna started to cry. Not out of sadness, not out of fear, but relief, of justice, of recognition. Eugenio approached and placed his hand on her shoulder. You took care of me for 17 years, Joanna. Cleaned, cooked, served, and he never asked for anything. Never complained. Always with dignity. Always with respect. Now it's my turn to take care of you. Flashback. 7 years earlier, Joanna was sitting in the hospital waiting room. Her hands were cold. Her heart was racing. Clara, his daughter, had been in a car accident on the way to work. I was in the ICU. The doctors weren't sure of anything. Livia appeared, impatient. Joanna, you need to go back. We have an important dinner tonight and you're not there. Joanna looked at her boss in disbelief. My daughter is dying, and I'm very sorry about that. But you have responsibilities, appointments. Joanna felt something break inside her, but he didn't have the strength to respond. He just lowered his head. That was when Eugenio entered the hospital. He had heard about the accident and had come himself. Joanna, he sat next to her. How is she? Serious, sir. Very serious. Eugenio remained there in silence beside her, and when Livia tried to insist, he cut her off. She stays, and I pay for everything. Doctors, treatment, surgery, all. Livia wanted to protest, but his look silenced her. Joanna never forgot that. Clara died 3 days later, but Eugenio paid for the funeral. He paid his debts, and he never charged anything back. End of flashback. Returned to the present, Joanna wiped her tears and looked at Eugenio. You were always different. No, I was only human. He returned to the chair. Something they forgot to be. A comfortable silence fell between the two, until Joanna asked, and now, what will happen? Now I'm going to the police. I will hand over all the evidence. Illegal transfers, forgeries, fraudulent interdiction attempts. They will face criminal charges. All. They will try to react. I know. Eugenio smirked. So tomorrow morning, or call an extraordinary meeting of the company, I will make everything public. The shareholders, the press, the employees, everyone will know what they tried to do. Joanna took a deep breath. It's going to be a war. No, it will be justice. And that night, Joanna returned home. Luana was already asleep. She kissed her forehead, adjusted the blanket, and sat next to the bed, watching the girl's calm breathing. Everything I did was for you. His cell phone vibrated. Message from unknown number. You were perfect, Joanna. Tomorrow the world will see the truth. Get ready. They will attack one last time before they fall. Joanna frowned. Who was this person? How did you know everything? Typed, who are you? The answer came quickly. Someone who was also betrayed by this family, and who wants to see justice done as much as you do. Joanna was thoughtful, but he didn't have time for any more questions. Another number, this time identified. Helena. The message was short, direct, and threatening. You think you won? You don't know anything. Tomorrow you'll pay for getting into trouble, I promise. Joanna felt fear creep up her spine, but this time, it wasn't paralyzing fear. It was combative fear. She was no longer alone. There was Eugene. It had the truth. I had proof. And somehow there was that mysterious person who helped her in the shadows. Monday, 7 a.m. Joanna woke up early, as always. He prepared Luana's coffee, fixed her uniform, combed the girl's hair. Grandma, you look different today, said Luana, looking at her grandmother curiously. How different? I don't know. It feels stronger. Joanna smiled and kissed her granddaughter's forehead. It's because I'm stronger, my love. He left Luana at school and went to the mansion, but this time not through the back entrance, through the front door. Livia was in the living room, on the phone, arguing with someone. When he saw Joanna, he hung up immediately. What do you think you're doing coming in here? Entering. Joanna didn't look away. Like anyone else. Livia turned red with anger. You're fired. Get your things and get out of here. No. Joanna crossed her arms. I don't work for you anymore. I work for Mr. Eugenio, and he didn't fire me. I am the owner of this house. You were. Joanna took a step forward. Now not anymore. Melissa and Camilla ran down the stairs. Mom, what's happening? Asked Camilla. The maid is thinking of herself, Livia growled. Helena appeared right behind with a folder in her hand and a sinister smile. Oh, Joanna, I'm glad you came. I have a surprise for you. She opened the folder and took out a paper. Do you know what this is? It's a complaint. Against you. For misappropriation, misrepresentation, and embezzlement. I already sent it to the police. Joanna felt her blood run cold. What are you talking about? I'm saying that you used my uncle's card for your own benefit. Paid off personal debts. Embezzled money. Scammed a vulnerable elderly person. Helena tilted her head. And I have witnesses. Documents. Evidence. Joanna opened her mouth to respond, but was interrupted by Eugenio's voice. Forged evidence, you mean? He came down the stairs, impeccable in his gray suit, holding a folder identical to Helena's. Joanna used the card exactly as I asked, and all transactions were authorized, documented, and legal. He stopped in front of Helena. But your transfers, Helena, those are illegal, just like those of Livia, Melissa, and Camilla. Helena tried to maintain her composure. You have no proof. Eugenio opened the folder and spread dozens of papers on the living room table. Bank statements, transfer receipts, emails with the lawyer, recorded conversations. I have everything. Livia turned pale. You recorded us? No. Eugene smiled coldly. But someone recorded it. And it was at that moment that the front door opened, and a woman entered. Tall, black, in an impeccable business suit. Curly hair tied into an elegant bun. Steady eyes, confident posture. Joanna recognized her immediately. It was Beatrice, the lawyer that Eugenio had hired months ago. But no one knew that she was, in fact, Eugenio's daughter from a previous relationship, the daughter that Livia had expelled from the family 20 years ago, the daughter who disappeared, the daughter who now returned, and she was holding a recorder. Good evening, Mother, said Beatrice with a sharp smile. Livia staggered, holding onto the sofa to keep from falling. You can't be here. I can, yes. Beatrice walked to the center of the room. Because I never left. I was just waiting for the right moment. She held up the recorder, and that moment has arrived. Beatriz, Eugenio's forgotten daughter, reappears with audio evidence of the conspiracy. Livia, Helena, Melissa, and Camilla are trapped. But as far as how far will they go to save themselves, and what does Beatriz have in that recorder? The silence in the room was deafening. Beatriz held the recorder as if she were holding a bomb about to explode, and in a way that was exactly it. Livia was pale, her hands were shaking, she was clinging to the arm of the sofa as if she were going to collapse at any moment. You're not welcome here, she managed to say, her voice coming out weak, brittle. I am not? Beatriz took a step forward, her leap echoing on the marble floor. Interesting, because this house was built with my father's money, and I am the legitimate heir, acknowledged by a notary, entitled to everything. Helena tried to intervene. That's a lie. You left 20 years ago, there's nothing else here. I didn't leave. Beatriz's voice cut the air like glass. I was expelled. For you. Because my mother was a maid. Because I was a bastard daughter. Because you were ashamed of me. Eugenio approached his daughter, placing his hand on her shoulder. Beatriz returned 6 months ago, in secret, to help me investigate what I already suspected, and she discovered everything. Beatriz lifted the recorder. Everything is here. Telephone conversations, meetings, negotiations with lawyers, bribing the doctor to forge the psychiatric report, illegal transfers, plans to forcibly commit my father. She pressed the button. Livia's voice echoed through the room, recorded clear, undeniable. When the ban comes out, everything will go to my name, and Helena will get her share, as we agreed. He won't react in time. Melissa covered her face with her hands. Camilla started to cry. Helena remained motionless, but her eyes betrayed panic. Beatriz pressed again. Another recording. Helena's voice. If we have to admit him, we will. I've already spoken to the director of the clinic. He accepts the report. There will be no resistance. And then, the worst of all, Livia's voice again. What if someone finds out? Lawyer's voice. Nobody will find out. He's old, senile. Nobody will believe him. And if the maid opens her mouth, we'll discredit her too. Who's going to believe a black maid against a traditional family? Joanna felt her blood boil, not out of anger, but validation. They had said out loud what they had always done silently. Discredit her, make her invisible, reduce it to nothing. But now, it was recorded, proven, undeniable. Beatriz turned off the recorder. This is a crime. Conspiracy, misrepresentation, embezzlement, attempted false imprisonment. You will answer for everything. Livia exploded. You can't do that. I'm his wife. I have rights. No more. Eugene took a paper out of his pocket. This is the divorce petition. Signed, filed, and accepted by my lawyer. You have 30 days to get out of this house. You can't get me out of here. I can, and I will. He looked at Melissa and Camilla. You two too. They have until the end of the month. Melissa fell to her knees, sobbing. Daddy, please. We made a mistake. We regret it. No, you didn't regret it. You guys just got caught. Eugenio turned to Helena. And you, he took a step towards her. You, who I took in when my brother died, that I treated like a daughter. You were the worst of all. Helena didn't respond. He just stared at him, his eyes full of repressed hatred. Get out of my house. Now. For a moment it seemed like Helena was going to react, scream, attack. But then, she picked up her bag, looked at Joanna with one last look of contempt, and left. The door slammed behind her. 2 hours later, the police arrived with 2 arrest warrants. One for Livia, another for Helena. Melissa and Camilla were not arrested but were summoned to testify and banned from leaving the city. Joanna watched from the kitchen window as Livia was placed in the police car, screaming, crying, blaming everyone but herself. Helena entered silently, her face stone, but her fists clenched. Beatriz appeared next to Joanna. They will pay for everything. Joanna looked at the woman beside her. She was beautiful, strong, elegant, and it carried the same pain that Joanna knew so well, the pain of being rejected, of being seen as inferior, to be discarded. Why did you help me? Asked Joanna softly. You didn't even know me. Beatriz smiled sideways. I know you, yes. I was here 6 months ago, undercover, observing, and I saw everything, how you worked, how she was treated, how she remained dignified despite everything. She paused, and I saw something in you that I almost lost, the courage to continue. Joanna felt her eyes water. Were you the one who sent me the messages? I was. Beatriz nodded. I needed you to know the truth, but I also needed you to act alone, without me, so that your choice was yours, not mine. And it was. And it was. Beatriz held Joanna's hand. You are stronger than you know, Joanna, and now finally he will have the life he always deserved. 3 weeks later, Joanna was on the balcony of the new house, a real house, 3 bedrooms, backyard, garage, bought with the money that Eugenio had transferred to her as soon as the will was executed. Luana played in the backyard, chasing butterflies, laughing loudly. Free. Joanna held a cup of coffee and looked at the horizon. For the first time in 17 years, she didn't have to wake up at 5 in the morning. I didn't need to serve anyone. I didn't need to lower my head. She was free. The gate opened. Eugenio entered, smiling, carrying a box of sweets. I brought Brigadeiro. I know it's Luana's favorite. Mr. Eugene? Luana ran to him, jumping. You came. Of course I came. He picked her up. I promised I'd come every Sunday, didn't I? Joanna stood up, excited. You don't need. I know I don't need it, I want. Eugenio sat in the chair next to her, placing Luana on the floor so she could go back to playing. You are my family now, Joanna. The only real family I have. You, Luana, and Beatrice. How is she? Good. He took over as vice president of the company. It's rearranging everything, cutting the dirty deals that Livia and Helena made, returning what was stolen. And them? Eugene sighed. Livia will be judged in 2 months. Helena, too. The lawyer has already been arrested. Melissa and Camilla are on parole, but they lost everything. The apartment, the cars, the bills. Everything blocked. Joanna didn't feel sorry. He felt justice. And you? How are you? Eugenio looked at her, his eyes tired, but at peace. I'm relieved. For the first time in years, I can sleep without fear. No suspicion. Weightless. He took Joanna's hand. And that? I owe you. I didn't do anything, sir. Yes, he did. You showed me that there are still good people. People who choose right, even when wrong would be easier. You reminded me why I built all this. To help. To make a difference. To leave a legacy of value. Not luxury. Joanna shook his hand back. You were always good, Mr. Eugenio. I was just surrounded by the wrong people. He was. But I'm not anymore. 6 months later, Joanna was on stage in a packed auditorium. Bright lights, cameras, attentive audience. She held the microphone with firm hands, but her heart was still beating fast. It was the launch of Instituto Joana Ferreira, a non-profit organization dedicated to offering scholarships, professional training, and legal support for domestic workers and their children. Beatrice was in the front row, applauding. Eugenio, too, next to Luana, who wore a blue dress, the same one that Joanna had almost bought that day, in the center. I spent 17 years serving, began Joanna, her voice echoing throughout the auditorium. 17 years cleaning, cooking, caring, and for a long time, I thought that was all I deserved, that was my place, that I couldn't dream bigger. She paused, emotional. But a man showed me that I was worth more, that my dignity mattered, that my choices had power. She looked at Eugene. And today, I want to pass this on. For every woman who wakes up at 5 in the morning, for every mother who works in silence, for every grandmother who raises her grandchildren alone, you are not invisible. You are essential, and you deserve dignity, respect, opportunity. The audience stood up, applauding. Joanna got off the stage and hugged Luana, who was crying with pride. Grandma, you were amazing. We were incredible, my love. Joanna kissed her granddaughter's forehead. Me and you, together. First round audition epilogue. 1 year later, Livia was sentenced to 5 years in prison for embezzlement and ideological falsehood. Helena served 7 years for organized crime and attempted false imprisonment. Melissa and Camilla made a plea agreement, returned the embezzled money, and served an alternative sentence. Eugenio officially retired, handing over the presidency of the company to Beatrice. He now spends his days traveling, reading, and weekly visits to Joanna and Luana's house. Beatrice became one of the most respected CEOs in the country, transforming her father's company into a model of social responsibility and transparency. Joanna manages the institute, travels around the country giving lectures, and receives hundreds of messages per month from women who were inspired by her story. And Luana? Luana is growing up. Strong, intelligent, loved. She wants to be a lawyer when she grows up, to defend people like grandmother. Joanna wakes up every day, makes a coffee, sits on the balcony and looks at the sky. Clara, I kept my promise. I took care of her. I protected her. And now, she's going to fly. Final reflection. Not every hero wears a cape. Some wear an apron. Not every battle is fought with shouts. Some are defeated with dignity. Not everyone laughs. Kiza is on the bench. True wealth is in character. Joanna didn't win because she was perfect. She won because she was faithful, true to your values, true to its essence, faithful to what was right, even when wrong was easier. And in the end, the world saw her, not as a maid, not as invisible, but as a human, worthy, valuable, unforgettable. Moral of the story: a person's character is not measured by what they buy with money, but by what they choose to do when no one is looking. And when everyone is looking, it's too late to fake it. And you? What would you do if you received a card with no limit? Would it be like Livia, Melissa, Camilla, and Helena, consuming out of ego and display? Or would it be like Joanna, investing in lives, dignity, and the future? Leave your answer in the comments. Give this story a rating from 0 to 10. subscribe to the channel, and share this message with anyone who needs to remember that character is worth more than a bank account. Until the next story, and remember, you are seen, you matter, you're worth it.